prajna, paramita. Is the term that we are using, that has been used. And I've been repeating that the language is very vague, but we have no choice. We have to use language. Because the word prajna has the connotation of cognizant, or the sort of the knower. We can label, we give sometimes a slightly better labels, more romantic, more poetic label. We call it wisdom. Prajna, in the Tibetan word shirap, rap, also has the connotation of the sort of supreme, sort of the very high class wisdom. Anyway, one that has the prajna means one that have understood or realized the truth of everything.
Of what?
The truth of everything. Sorry. It's difficult to explain. I will use one example. Let's say I'm performing magic here. Things coming out, rabbits, tears, whatever. And you are these kids. And you are fascinated by my magic. And when I show snakes or tiger, you get frightened. When I show maybe rabbit, you feel very, I don't know, you like, I don't know, all sorts of emotion. The kids don't know the truth behind what's happening here. You understand what I mean? So you don't have the prajna, so to speak. You understand? So you are so fascinated by the magic. Now there's another, but now me, I'm performing this. I know this is not true, but I'm also engaged. I'm also engaging. I'm sort of also a little bit involved here, but I also know this is not really happening. But there's another person, the third person, really important, this one, is those people out there who are not my audience. Therefore, they are not affected by magic. So for them, they don't know, they think, why are people laughing? Or why are people screaming? What's going on? Those people, they are not affected, meaning they're not excited, they're not afraid, they're not bothered at all by, from the root. There's no base, basically. Okay, remember the kids, you have no prajna, so you are completely involved. Me, I have a little bit more prajna, because I know what's happening, but I also know this is not true. That guy is free from all this delusion. So, ordinary people, bodhisattva level, Buddha level. You understand? My example is not the best, because within this context, I'm only managing to give you analogy of two gates. There's 4 gates. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate. I'm only managing to show you, yes, two gates. The first gate and parasamgate. First gate is from ordinary people to magician. He knows, he's gone beyond that, thinking this is not really true. But still, I'm involved. By the way, okay, first let's translate this. There are magicians who get caught by their own game, so to speak. You know, they like the timing, the music, the synchronization, and not only that, probably they may build a very beautiful girl, magic. But it's so perfect and so beautiful. You also feel a little bit, you know, drowsy here and there. That could happen. So you have to go also from that gate, you understand? So I'm trying to talk about the 4 gates, by the way. Anyway, while Buddha was in the samadhi of illuminating, Avalokiteshvara was, okay, meditating on emptiness. I really don't like using the word meditating, but no choice. Meditating on emptiness. And back to our analogy, Avalokiteshvara is the magician level. Okay, so he is in this. There's so many, you know, this is why the language is really not good. Not, you know, Avalokiteshvara is in deep samadhi of shunyata. The word deep somehow makes you feel like you want to close your eyes. You understand? So even in the depiction of the vulture's peak, you know, some Avalokiteshvara is usually painted sitting straight. You know, that's how much symbolism is always limited. You know, that's all you can do. A modern artist could actually very well paint Avalokiteshvara on a big headphone and listening to a trance music and going like this, like this. And Shariputra sort of tapping him, hello, excuse me, sir. What are you doing? And then he gives the answer. Okay, so the classically, you know, the Shariputra's question is, how do you look at things? It's a very important, the choice of language is actually quite important. Listen to this. This is Shariputra's question. Rikjipu, kaanlala, sherabji parudu chimba, sami chepa cheparan doba di, chitar labarja. It wasn't a question of how do you meditate? It wasn't questions like that. How do you meditate? Or how do you dwell on emptiness? No, it's not like that. The question is, how does a person who wish to live by, act according to, behave as if you have prajna paramit, you know, prajna, the supreme wisdom. How do you do that? That was the question. Some, you know, Sharaji Padachimba, Sami Chepa, Cheparandopati, you know, like those who wish to, right? I have some of the greatest translators looking at me and I'm nervous here. You know, how do you eat? How do you dress? What tie should one choose this morning? Like that level I'm talking about. You know, how do you eat? How do you sort of comb your hair? What shampoo would you use this morning? As someone who has the prajna, how many degrees should you swing your hips when you walk? This morning, particularly, for instance. I'm serious. This is what he was asking. It's not, you know, like some dry, boring question. Okay, how should one be, you know, good Buddhist? It's not like this. He's really asking like very nitty-gritty stuff. How should I drink this juice as someone who has a prajna? It's so important. Didn't I say yesterday? Prajna paramita is really, really important for everything. Sleeping, everything, whatever. For dating too. I was just going through some newspaper and there's a dating service. So it come up, dating. You need confidence for dating, isn't it? If you have a confidence, then even though you have forgotten to use Listerine this morning, you would really go close to somebody. You need confidence. How do you have the confidence when you know form is emptiness, emptiness is form is neither, not different from the emptiness, emptiness is not different from empty. That's when you have confidence. So this is Shariputra's question. So how do you go about it? How do you live? How do you live? How do you breathe? How do you exist as someone who has a prajna? Okay, as an answer to that, 장주 삼바 좀 봐봐 쟤네들 원주고 사단다 샤리푸는 디게 좀 해서 샤리푸 리치부 뭐 강라라 샤라지 파르도 좀 삼이 제바른데 버디 지들 넘버 따왔다 디들 넘버 따버차데 풍풍 아버지다 저런지 동 넘버 양다 버지도 주동보 동바니 주주 줄레 좀 동바니 제마이. So this is the beginning of the prajna paramita discussion. So immediately, okay, so the prajna, as an answer to that question, Avalokiteshvara choose to speak about 5 aggregates first. Avalokiteshvara didn't choose to speak about mathematics, political science, or philosophy. He chose to speak about 5 aggregates. And there's a very, very important reason for that, because the 5 aggregates, and we will be speaking this more, 5 aggregates are the base where you label the notion of self. And then you begin all this clinging and self-cherishing and all the emotion starts then. So this is why going to the root. Okay, now back to again a little bit, we need to know this Prajanaparamitra and Madhyamika chose the word non-existent, chose to speak the non-existence more than the existence. This is going to take some time to get used to this thinking. But in the Prajanaparamita, there's something so amazing, which is what we call Tongni Jijor, which means explaining the emptiness from the 4 sort of direction, let's call it direction, for character, or Tongni Jijor, sort of 4 direction, aspects, 4 aspects. It's so good. Zuk Tongbao, form is emptiness, as if the form is negated, but which is not true. Because right after that, Tongbani Zukso, emptiness is form. So it's sort of not a negative, it's not a negation phrase. It is actually affirmative, sort of saying that emptiness is form. And then, as if that is not enough, there's 2 more. Form is not other than the emptiness, and emptiness is not other than the form. Wow, this is so vast. So vast. Yet, it is frustratingly simple. Form is emptiness, emptiness is a form. Just 2 lines. Out of this, form is emptiness, Nagarjuna and the company. Emptiness is form, Asanga and the company. What does that mean? The first one influenced some Indians and a lot of Tibetans. The second one influenced a lot of Japanese, a lot of Chinese. See, each line has so many, it has created so many approach. Okay, now there's one question that you can ask. Why all this? Why is it so complicated? Why do we have to put it this way? Okay, let me try this one. Ordinary people, when we interact with things, like look at things, hear things, taste things, we just don't have the we don't have this ability to not fall into a certain extreme. Longchenpa, one of the greatest masters in Tibet, he explains this so well. Something vivid you see, and then you forget. Form is emptiness. You end up, what do you call it? Solidifying the appearance, the vividness, the form. At times in our life, things become very negative, things doesn't work. Anyway, negation happens. And at that time, we forget emptiness is form. I'm just trying to, use these examples. I always use this example. Somehow it works, I think. Looking at a mirror. Okay. Probably, these are some of the very rare occasions we actually understand form is emptiness, emptiness is form, the fourth stuff. Every time when we look at the mirror, we actually have a little bit of this fourth aspect of emptiness. When we look at the mirror, you see your face. But we also know it's not really there, isn't it? Otherwise, you need to have 2 shaving blades, 2 shaving cream, everything double you need. So we kind of know it's not really there. So sort of that form is emptiness, we know. But we also cannot deny that that is not there. You cannot say, every time you look, it's there. And it's very usable. If looking at that lip, you apply the lipstick on this lip, works. It works. You don't have to do it on that. And you also know that I am also not different from that reflection. That reflection is also not different from me, kind of. But this is the only rare occasions that we sort of have that kind of knowledge or understanding. But according to Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra, everything we experience is like that. That is difficult to chew, especially when things matters. And it doesn't even have to be so big. It can be something so small, like somebody scratches your expensive Ferrari. You get mad. You don't think Ferrari is emptiness, emptiness is Ferrari. You don't think like that. Or if somebody pinch your girlfriend's bottom, there is none of these 4 aspects of emptiness. Why? Strong habit of thinking something truly exists. Oh. And yeah. So basically, whole 84,000 Buddha Dharma is working, is actually technique to work with a habit. If there is no habit, no jobs for the Buddhas. No habit means no sentient beings. That means no ignorant beings. No need path, no goal, no Buddha. Now, this is sort of in order to, now to explain this a little bit more, I will use some other commentaries. Okay. Remember, why are we studying this? Not for, happiness. I mean, the main goal is not for happiness, not for good sleep, not for any of that, but for liberation. I will remind you this again and again. And liberation, for now, we have decided liberation is having a complete picture or understanding or realization of the truth. But Also, I've been telling you, language is vague, truth cannot be expressed by this vague, limited language, etc., etc. So we have a problem here. We want to be liberated, and we keep on hearing that, some Joe, may, like you cannot speak about it. So what? So what do we do? We have no choice but use language. Remember I said yesterday, if you ask Chandrakirti, to whom should we teach this? He never chose smart people. In his criteria, you should teach emptiness to only smart people. He said, you should teach this to those who have goosebumps and tears in their eyes when the moment you hear Shunyata. There is a very important point here. Longchenpa, again, Longchenpa said this. Yangna lunpo tebachen. This is such a good word. He said, but Yangna means or else. Okay? When he talked about to whom should we teach the Shunyata, he said, or else you should really teach to a completely idiot, devotional person. This is what he said. Lumbo, idiot, right? Difficult to teach to half smart people. It's very difficult. Because half smart people have developed a habit of liking things that are sensible. They like things like proof. In other words, the sort of the trust and the devotion does not exist. It's a bit like this. Okay, the completely idiot is the best to teach as Shunyata, or very, very, very smart. Really smart, very good. In between is the difficult. Just because we are talking about the faculties, what do we mean by Wangbo, which means sort of disciple with the superior faculties? What do we mean by really, really smart? It's not really defined by someone who is very learned, read a lot of books, went through lots of university education, a lot of, research. It could help a little bit, but maybe not. That's not the criteria. How do you define a superior faculty? One very important faculty in Tibetan, we call it Michewi, Chola, Zobataba. Zoba, patience, endurance, sort of resistance, immune, probably. Michewi, Chola. Anyway, someone who can resilient also is good. Resilience is like someone who can accommodate anything, everything. Things like Shunyata, basically. Someone who can accommodate. In Tibetan Buddhism, there's a school called Nyingmapa. I don't know whether you know, any of you. They have a teaching called Mahasandhi Dzogchen. And when they look for a vessel, student who can listen to the Dzogchen teaching, one of the most important faculty is Semba Kuyambo, meaning very, what do you call it? Kuyambo, how do you translate? Very vast and open-minded. Even if somebody says, hey, if somebody says Kathmandu was completely upside down, hanging on the air, could be, why not? That kind of.
What's upside down?
If somebody says the whole Kathmandu city is like upside down, hanging on the air right now, not falling. So, yeah, probably, why not? By the way, does not mean he's so gullible and idiot also. It's a very thin line. There's a very thin line here. But vast and open-minded is so difficult. We, many of us, we love principles, values, and Chinese have been cooked by a cook called Confucius for centuries to develop, marinate with a certain values, and those values are really, really good, very, very good. I have to say, I'm a very big believer of this. It is because of that places like Taiwan, you hear more of a sound of a garbage collector than a police siren, because there's not much crime. The moment you land in New York, the first thing you hear is a police siren. There's a crime somewhere. And then Abrahamic people, I mean the Europeans, Westerners, they have so many values. They have so many. Made to feel guilty for, being a sinful person. I understand. I don't know what, some very dirty whatever. Recently I mindlessly made a Moroccan girl suffered because she had this crush on this really nice Indian boy. He's a really nice looking Indian boy. He had a crush on him, and she told me, I have so much infatuation. Then I give her an advice. Said maybe you should take a shower before you go. And then she cried, all her Muslim background, the women are dirty, filthy, all that thing came out. I felt so bad. And Indians, they have their share of hang-ups on, principles and values. To caste and all of that. I don't want to speak too much because there's a Hindu fanatic sitting here, right, on this side. And I have all my, base in India. I have to still go back. Basically, what I'm saying is, Guyangpo, to be vast and open-minded is really difficult. It's really difficult. Tibetans, they have so much principles, so much hang-ups, so much. Bhutanese, Tibetans, they are some of the most racist people on earth. They think they are the only sound Dharma practitioners. Yes, they do that. I'm telling you. Don't tell the Tibetans I told you this, but this is the case. Most of the lamas, like myself, when we teach Westerners, we try to teach them how to be Tibetan first. Look, and it has been successful. Some of them, look here. How long did I know you? Two, this most. I was 10, right? These guys know ever since when I was 11. So these are my Vajra brothers and sisters, by the way. They're sitting here. I don't know what they're doing, but they do really remind me impermanence. Like the gentleman sitting here, I know him before he became monk. He was this elegant French. And so many ladies after him. Anyway. And this nun, she just can't get out of her catwalk even now. Catwalk. The catwalk, right? What do you call it? Models, when the models walk.
Oh.
Yes.
She walks like a model?
She just can't. Basically, what I'm saying is the chances of them becoming a Tibetan in this life is 0. But they can easily get enlightenment. That is very possible. Sorry, I got distracted now. Yeah.
Vast and open.
What?
You're talking about vast and open.
Yes, vastness, the open-minded. It's very important to understand the Shunyata. But anyway, again, alas, sadly, we have to rely on uh, logic. We have to, we have to rely on language, and we have to rely on logic.
可是
I'm sorry, something mysteriously burst in my bag and everything is wet. Oh, I see. Okay, I got it. Logic. So what I'm going to do today, just briefly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the logic. Okay, the reason why I need to introduce you the logic is because we are going to talk about the truth, which is presented by Avalokiteshvara from the fourth aspect. So in order to talk about the truth, we need to know how we measure what is truth. You understand? So that's why the logic needs to come. I didn't pee, okay, later. Okay, so logic. Logic, just very briefly, I will present. Which means, okay, to study logic, we need to talk about, what do you call it, how we validate, the way we validate something. So for doing that, there is, okay, for valid cognition, to establish the valid cognition, we have this two tools that we use, which is, one is direct valid cognition, or yes, direct valid cognition, and the other one is indirect, inferential logic, or way of validating something.
就是参考的一种逻辑的方法来证实。
The direct is, well, kind of simple, like this is watermelon. I don't need any inference. Inferential is more like someone must have cut it square this morning, because, watermelon doesn't come in this way, right?
那这个第二个是这种推演的这个逻辑呢，就是说我们在想说，一定有人把它切成方块形的，因为西瓜并不是方的。
It's a very, very big study in Buddhism.
这在佛教的哲学里面是一个很大的研究的主题。
And also in India, there's actually a school called Nyaya, which is very, very good.
那在印度的这个哲学传统里面，也有一个派别叫 Nyaya， 抱歉，我这个不会翻译。
And I think in present day in Europe, like Oxford and some of the European universities, they have a very good study of this Nyaya system.
现在在欧洲，像这个牛津大学等等的非常好的大学里面，都有相当好的这个 Nyaya 的研究。
This is going to be kind of important to deliver Buddhism to other non-Indian people, basically.
这些研究对于要把佛教传给非印度人呢，是蛮重要的一个工具。
I was recently talking to one of really, I admire him so much, a Rinpoche called Jigme Chense Rinpoche.
最近仁波切跟那个吉美钦哲仁波切在聊天。
And we were talking about how to present Buddha Dharma beyond this, feel good meditation, all that sort of, nice feeling, emotion. Really present Buddhism, from the ground. And he was telling me that we need to sort of present the Indian thinking of this logic a little bit, because he was actually himself quoting Woolston, another friend, who said that probably in the West, the logic is based on mathematics, whereas in the East, well, especially in India, logic is very much based on language. That's an interesting for me.
最近他跟基本清泽仁波切在对谈，那他们在谈说怎么把这个佛教真正的从根介绍给西方的这个世界，而不只是利用一些就是感觉良好啊、禅定啊一些看起来很舒适的一些这个表面的方法来传达，而是把这个基础传出去。那他们在谈说应该把这个印度的逻辑呢介绍给西方。那也谈到另外一位这个也是佛教学者叫乌斯特，他在讲说西方的逻辑呢基本上是根基于数学的，而印度的逻辑是根基于语言的。那而且觉得这个分别呢是非常有趣的。
Okay, so remember I divided into two. One is the direct cognition, and the other is inferential.
记得人们现在刚刚分成两种，一种是直接的觉知，一种是推论的这个结果。
In from the direct cognition, there are few categories, such as Wangbongansum, which is like, as I said, this is a watermelon. I can see it. I can see with my, non-deceiving.
那在这个直接觉知里面又分几类，第一个是像这个刚刚说西瓜，人们就可以直接看到，所以它不欺瞒的，它是直接就看到，直接觉知。
And it's not going to transform into an orange just as it was entering my mouth. You understand what I'm saying?
而且它也不会就在人们就放嘴里的时候忽然变成橘子。
Hluameba, non-deceiving. Hluameba, non-deceiving. Gokorgi marisim. Non-deceiving. It's non-deceiving. There's no deception involved. This is watermelon.
这西瓜就是西瓜，没有那个之间没有牵涉到任何会欺骗你的东西，会变的东西。
And it is yet again reconfirmed 100% it is watermelon.
那到了嘴里又100%的确定，重新确认了这是西瓜。
Okay, so in the direct cognition there are few categories.
那直接觉知有分成几类。
The other is rangrik unsum. This is really difficult. Anyway, if you ask a core hardline Buddhist, give me really, the most non-deceiving direct cognition, they will say only the sublime being's perception is the direct cognition.
所以你如果
the only thing that is perceived by the sublime being is a direct cognition. Other than that, all others are sort of a fake direct cognition. It's not really. Okay, you may ask, why? That was watermelon.
你会问说
It's very debatable from many aspects.
从很
First of all, watermelon is a labeling from a certain group of people. Like the goats, they don't know, we don't know whether they think it's a watermelon, and so on and so forth. And secondly, and most importantly, my mind that thinks this is a watermelon is very corruptible. For instance, if I'm making a scheduling right now, where I will be next year, in which places and all that, and I'm eating like this and scheduling, my mind is so distracted here, I will not know what I'm eating also. And also if I've drank a lot of alcohol, let's say, I may not even know what I'm eating. So my direct cognition is very, it is in the category of direct cognition, but it is very debatable. It's very shaky. So if you ask a core Buddhist, really strong Buddhist, they will say all the decisions made by scientists, for instance, like a Big Bang, is not in the category of direct cognition. The only direct cognition, valid direct cognition is when you have the prajna. And that also a complete prajna. And remember I was talking about Nyingmapa? Oh, they are really hardliners. They actually differentiate between, everything that is perceived by mind is not really direct cognition. That's what they would say. Far out, actually. You may wonder, why are we talking this? Actually, we are talking about one of the most important, fundamental things, talking about refuge. If there's a rain like today, would you take a refuge under an umbrella made out of newspaper? You would not, because that will cheat you. You would not confide your life, really, like problems with a thief or a crook. You would rather get an advice from someone who is sober or, more, you understand? So taking refuge, when we take refuge, it's the most important. So when we take refuge, we have to take refuge to something that will not deceive you. So prajna, shunyata is the only thing that is non-deceiving, actually. Only thing that will not deceive you. Okay, so many of you, in case, want to become Buddhist. It means you want to surrender, trust, and rely to a path. Now we need to evaluate this. And how do we evaluate? We learn this logic a little bit. Now, inferential logic, fairly you should understand. It's basically based on a certain, okay, the classic example, Indian. If you see smoke, you must think that there is a fire. Of course, there are a lot of smoke-like phenomena too. We have to give that. So inferential logic is based on a certain, what do you call it? And basically it's not a direct cognition. Okay, so now we use these two logic to evaluate prajna paramita. This then leads us to, we need to explore on truth, and therefore we need to explore a little bit on two truth. That's what we are going to do now. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you this. In the midst of this, I am not negating disciple with the superior faculties, with all the setting perfect, with every situation right, with a master who is qualified. None of this logic, analogy, examples necessary can shift, awaken this student. Having said that, don't deceive yourself with sensations. People go, oh, yesterday I met so-and-so master, and I thought the universe had become me, and me become universe. All that sensations, feelings, as if they have understood the truth. There's a way to check whether you have understood the truth or not, I will tell you. Those are just the sensations, feelings. Those come and go. Sometimes they're kind of, important. So Tibetans are quite good at hyping these things up a little bit. Those are just a sensation. Don't trust them. They, they are not necessarily a realization. So how do you find out whether this is not just a sensation, but it's actually a realization? Very simple. Skip lunch, skip dinner. By not eating lunches and dinner for about a day or two, if you are still not annoyed, probably you have got some realization. Until then, you are still a pathetic, samsaric being who is a victim of bombardment of habitual patterns. So, behave yourself.